I want to talk about returning from Hawaii when you experienced the whales.
Yeah, that was part of the delivery crew. It was a 440 who had done the Pacific Cup race, and 4 days into the delivery, pretty calm seas. Yeah, we saw a pod of sperm whales. We
Mhm.
tacked away from them, but we were all on deck with our camera taking pictures. And then just heard a very big noise, and it was one of those whales who decided to ram the boat. And as we investigated, we found a hole in the hull, and then a lot of cracks also all below the waterline. The skipper, he looked at this and was like, this is significant damage. Like, yes.
So you guys quickly had to make a decision. And I'm sure the decision immediately was begin preparations to abandon ship.
So the skipper, of course, in these conditions, kind of take charge of everything. The boat was very well prepared, and then he just did not lose his calm, and so he was very precise and direct in his commands, which make things a lot easier. He instructed one crew member to deploy the life raft. At the same time, he issued a mayday on the SSB radio and on VHF. And then what we were trying to do is stop the water from coming in, like stuffing the hole with big sail bags. Took about 30 minutes-ish for the deck to be awash, basically.
What kind of bilge pumps were you using? I'm sure there's an electric bilge pump on a boat that size and some manual ones. How effective were they?
We're using everything that we had, including bailing buckets,
Mhm.
and the intake from the engine, which we directed to the inside of the boat instead of the sea. It wasn't a match for the rate at which the water was coming in. We tacked the boat the other way to make the portion of the hole that was below the waterline a little smaller.
Mhm.
We reefed the main so that there would be less of a bow wave, right? So less water coming in through the speed of the boat. We also wrapped a sail on the outside, a jib to try to get some pressure against the hull. All those efforts, I think, got us to 30 minutes.
And what degree of panic was there on board?
There was no panic. I think to a large extent, it was because you modeled a lot of your behavior on the skippers, and the skipper
Mhm.
was very calm. He knew exactly what to do. Okay, well, we have a major incident, but we prepared for it. First order was like stuff the hole. I had to figure out how.
Mhm.
But then he, turned to another crew member and said, "Hey, deploy the life raft." So, and then he said, "And get the food and emergency water, whatever." And then he went to the radio because it was so precise, and you're just so focused on the very short-term problem that you no longer have time to be panicked.
Nathalie, when the skipper got on the radio, single sideband and VHF,
Yep.
did he get a response right away to his mayday, or did it take several tries?
We didn't get any responses at all. Obviously, we set off the EPIRB. We also had a satellite phone, and that's really ultimately what saved us. But we
And,
used the sat phone on the Liferaft.
and who did you call from the satellite phone?
Now, I think you can make emergency calls from satellite phones, but at the time you couldn't. So we called his son, who happened to be boarding a plane back to Los Angeles. And it was right at the time where the flight attendant would come in and say, "Sir, you have to turn off your cell phone now."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "No, I have to take this call." So he took the call. He shared the GPS coordinates with the pilot of the plane, which shared those with the control tower, and the control tower took those coordinates to the Coast Guard. And that and the EPIRB was like two data points that confirmed that there was a problem. So we wound up in priority in terms of response.
Did you have any challenges or problems getting from the boat into the life raft?
Not at all. I mean, the boat was still afloat,
Mhm.
so it was easy to just step into the life raft. We had plenty of time to load water, to load food, to load all of our grab bags. Where we had, our passports, and we were all wearing our foul weather gear, even though it was quite hot. So there was absolutely no problem at all. The life raft deployed as it's supposed to. You just kick it out, you just pull the painter, and then it just kind of self-inflates.
Mhm.
So it was a 6-person life raft, even though we were 4 people on the boat because you couldn't find any smaller. But to be honest, a 6-person life raft felt really small. Like between us and the gear, like we didn't have
Yeah.
enough room. So I'm trying to imagine 6 people. It would have been a nightmare.
Having done the safety at sea classes where you get in the life raft with 8 other people,
Yeah.
it's really cramped. How did you disconnect the painter from the sailboat before it sank?
We cut it. We had a knife and we cut it.
Did you see sharks?
We didn't see sharks, but they are sharks.
Yeah.
And in particular, great whites. Great white sharks don't just typically attack human. Like whenever they are attacked, it tends to be a mistake. And in this case, we didn't look anything like a seal.
How long were you in the life raft before you were picked up?
So little less than 24 hours, we were out of range of helicopters, so we could not be rescued just like directly from the Coast Guard. We saw the C-30 plane. They threw a canister in the water, which we had to kind of swim for, and in it was a VHF, which is when we started to be able to communicate. But at that point, we knew that at least the Coast Guard was alerted to our condition, and then definitely, putting our trust in those professionals to kind of rescue us. And we were really not in, we were in a precarious position, but the sea state was really calm. It was a very nice warm day. So there wasn't any, immediate danger. None of us were injured. We had plenty of food, plenty of water. We were under a canopy, right? So there was no risk of being sunburned or anything like this. They ultimately redirected a container ship to come pick us up.
And did the container ship take you back to the mainland or to Hawaii?
The container ship was on its way to Yokohama. We had learned that there was one fishing boat who was also on its way. That fishing boat was on its way to Hawaii. And so in the end, the captain said, okay, well, why don't you go on to that fishing boat?